Welcome everyone to this manifesting webinar for the beginning of 2023. I'm really excited to be here with all of you. And we're going to have, yes, I have a lovely adventure and a lovely adventure planned for everyone. And I don't even know exactly where it's going to go. You know me. I just have a sort of general idea and then we take it from there. And I think I'm just checking over here. I think the video is fine. The audio is fine. Okay, very good. Let's talk about what is energy healing. Energy healing is, I guess we could call it a technology of consciousness. It's an organized platform for directing awareness intelligently so that awareness produces specific effects. That would be the nutshell. And slightly more elaborated would be that consciousness and the whole universe shows up in layers, from the infinite, eternal, unmanifest ocean of pure being, qualityless, unbounded, absolute, through the entire range of expression. And in energy healing, we're really diving in deeply and analyzing and understanding the mechanics of how that ocean of pure unmanifest consciousness works its way and wends its way up through the layers of manifestation to the physical material level of creation, where it shows up as our reality. And it's so interesting. It is a field of endless fascination. And every time I use the word technology because my experience is that as I investigate, and then we investigate together, when I'm with you, more expanded, deeper levels of understanding come forward. And it's just so absolutely exciting and wonderful to be here together doing this. I'm being the mouthpiece, but your consciousness is also adding to the richness and depth of what is available to us collectively. So that's amazing and wonderful. Thank you for being here. Yeah, so it's a process. It's a process. And anyway, I have a general outline of where I'd like to go with you guys today. And I'm quite excited about it because I think you're going to enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy it. But before we do that, we're going to take a little 3-minute silence at the beginning of our webinar, because the 3 minutes gives everybody an opportunity to just rest a little bit in the silent ocean of being, in the source energy of creation, because that really is the foundation upon which all energy healing is enacted and performed, and everything else in creation. So it never hurts to spend a few moments at the well and then bring the water home and you can drink all day. So let's do that. All right, I'm going to ask you to close the eyes. We'll take about 3 minutes of silence here, and then after, I'll put myself on mute while we do that. But after 3 minutes, I'll ask you to open the eyes, and don't open the eyes too quickly. Take your time, come out slowly. The slower we come out, the more of that silence is integrated into the field of awareness. And so there's some value, no rush. It's easy. All right, let's close our eyes. Let's take a moment before slowly opening the eyes. Thank you to the source of creation for being everything. For being each one of us and the whole universe. And that most precious, most honorable connection between the unmanifest source of creation and the entire manifest field of creation. Thank you for the time of this live webinar and for the opportunity to be of service. May we spend our hour in the most useful, valuable, and meaningful way. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate the trust that you've put in me. I thought it would be nice. Well, let me put it this way. I'm running a workshop right now, and the workshop is very hands-on, and that's fun. And people, I feel like the participants are having a very nice time getting some good value out of the workshop. So I thought I would like to start today's manifestation webinar, starting the new year and starting today's manifesting webinar with an exercise, because it's nice to start with some direct experience. And then we'll go into more detail about how that manifesting process works and the influences upon it. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to ask you to do something. So you don't have to do anything, because you guys are grown-ups and you're sitting hopefully very comfortably in your own space. But if you want to, the way this exercise works is that we are going to set up a situation so that your desires are manifested. And what I'm asking you to do is to just clarify for yourself, what are your desires? So let's take a minute, think about it. Think about what you'd really, really like to manifest for 2023. Like, what's your deepest heart's desire, right? And I know you guys, I know you, some of you are going to be out there not manifesting anything really, really concrete, but like just the feeling, some kind of deep feeling of, bliss or some value, or even that essence of, well, what I want to manifest, like the most important thing, like if I could manifest anything, the most important thing I'd like to manifest is what the divine would like, the divine in me would like to manifest, right? Like what my highest, my big self, but you just decide, what you like, and find a single something, however you want to word it to yourself or define it to yourself. Sorry, I didn't warn you ahead of time. There would be a pop quiz. What would you like to manifest for this year? I'm feeling that almost everybody has their desire set up. A memory came to me of a time when I did this as a participant. And the person who was doing the healing work didn't say, they did their thing, right? Like I had my desires, you have your desire. And then the person who's kind of like leading the process did not say, they just were silent, pure silence. But I had this memory thought today that the desire that I had, was trying to remember what was my desire that time. And then I realized, oh, that did come to fruition. It actually did come to fruition. And it was rather a big desire. So I realized that this works. But the difference between that experience for me and what we're going to do today is that I'm not going to do this in silence. I'm going to let you know step by step everything that happens at my end. And the reason I'm going to do that is I really want to empower you. I want you to understand how the process unfurls, right? How it unfolds, because it's not outside the range of your ability also. Okay. So is everybody ready? Let us begin. Whether you're ready or not, here I come. Here we come. Okay. Starting with the establishment of awareness in the silence of being. Everyone's desire identified in its finest seed form. Interestingly, where the desire is held. I'm noticing different of you are holding at different places in your body. But what is really important is where the seed desire is being held in the field of consciousness. So I'm identifying that seed at that deepest, what I would call the finest abstract. For those who are not familiar with the picture behind me, the water represents the ocean of totality, and the sky represents the manifest level of creation. So we're looking at the seed right down there, right down in the junction or gap between. I'm also noticing that some people are more invested in their desire than others. It doesn't matter how invested you are. It is my honor to represent the part of you that connects the seed of desire, the seed of your potential, with the infinite resource. I know you're doing that too, but I am voicing it. I am standing as an archetype, essentially, in the gap between the silence and the infusion of life into that seed. And it is such a luscious and lovely place to stand. And an honor to represent and manifest an aspect of yourself which you may or may not have been in touch with. So this exercise is not only an exercise of nourishing and nurturing and feeding the seed of your potential with boundless resource, but it is also an exercise in stabilizing and integrating the part of your own being which is responsible for manifesting your desires ever. Because I'm standing as it. I'm using my body and my being, representing that. Just deepen the gap. It's so beautiful here. Like, I don't want to leave. Even coming out to speak is like, oh. The seeds of your potential are nourished in such a way that the expression of the potential evolves as it rises to the surface of creation. That way, the desire doesn't lose access to the power of infinite resources as it's manifesting. It doesn't become overwhelmed. This is the important thing. Whatever changes are required of you to accommodate the manifestation of your heart's deepest desire is, I would say, unfurling. It's being offered like a blueprint that you can walk through the gate. You can walk through the experience of your desire manifesting with grace. Grace, it's being infused with grace. But it's not just that the path itself is being infused with grace. Well, I guess in a nutshell, it is. But you know me, I like to go in with the fine scalpel and see what's really going on there. So it's that the desire itself supports a structuring of your physiology, your emotional makeup, your mind, all parts of you, to accommodate the manifestation of that desire. Like so effortlessly, so beautifully, so simply, so naturally, spontaneously. There, naturally and spontaneously. Sometimes I'll say the words and then like different words light up, right? Naturally, as part of your, not only your personal evolutionary process, but the cosmic evolutionary process that's going on all around you. And so there is a fortification between your own being and the web of life and the field around you as well. Because that's part of the story of everything fitting together, right? That's part of the story of your desires being fulfilled, is that as they're fulfilled, and you're experiencing that process gracefully, that the whole field of life around you is also in accord with that experience. Like having the wind at your back, right? The universe is there to help perpetuate the fulfillment of that desire. My heart is melting because your desires are so beautiful. They're coming in like, you know, as they start, as the blueprint of the path by which the desire is fulfilled unfolds, I start to see more detail. And it's so beautiful, so beautiful. And it's so beautiful that the beauty could be overwhelming. But instead of it allowing it to overwhelm the physiology and the system, it's just being offered back to the silence of being. It's like coming to rest. It's returning home to the source of creation where it is further infused with boundless resource. And now we come to the door of power. The ability to manifest anything and to manifest so effortlessly gives you power. And I would like to make a point at this point in our webinar that one of the webinar participants, I think, will be with us tomorrow. I doubt she's with us tonight, European, but sometimes she comes in at night, bless you. Her desire, she sent it to me, and she said her desire was that the peaceful, good-hearted people of the world become the powerful people of the world. How beautiful is that? Such beautiful hearts. Such beautiful hearts with the potential to do real good in this world, to take actions and to approach reality and to radiate the light of being through your own vehicle in a way that ensures the highest and best possible outcome for the whole world. Aligned with the grace and the love that brought this universe into being in the first place. You are powerful. You are God to me. You are the divine. There. That statement, it rubs up against some, a little bit for some people. On the note of it rubbing up against some dissonance for some people, I will add one thing. Remember I said years ago, I was sitting in an auditorium with some energy healer and they were going to manifest everyone's desire for them, but they didn't say what they did or how they did it. So everyone, we were offered the opportunity to ask a question, and I raised my hand and I said, is it okay to desire to be able to do what you do? And I'm not going to say the name because I'm not complaining on this person, but this is important. Right here is important key point because of this energy that just showed up. And this person said to me, and not exactly in these words, but he basically said, have you not been watching the presentation? Well, like, yes, of course I was. I paid hundreds of dollars to be there, right? One night presentation, hundreds of dollars. Okay. And he said, I have shown you videos or slides of how advanced my brain is. And without coming out and saying it directly, he was kind of saying, you can never do what I do because you're kind of like an insect to me. And my question was followed by another lady in the audience asking the same question. And he gave the same answer. I won't say who that was, but I wish him well because my desire did get fulfilled. But this is why I think it's important for you to understand the process, for you to hear through my own words what the healing that allows you to manifest your desires actually, like, what are the steps? Because there is an algorithmic element to it. There's also a heuristic element. Okay, algorithm means like a set of instructions, right? First do this, then do this, then do that. Heuristic means fly by the seat of your pants. That's heuristic. So feel your way through. So, I mean, there is a little bit of both that's taking place. So we can't take, every part of today's session, what we just went through, and go, well, I'll go exactly like that every single time I want to manifest anything, because you could bump into things. But I want you to know from my side that to me, you are beautiful. You are the manifestation of the divine. And it is a privilege and an honor for me to sit at your feet and to support the manifestation of your beautiful wishes, to create a context for your heart's beautiful desires, your heart's exalted desires to come forth in this long-suffering world. We are here together doing this work because our world needs help. It's not a coincidence or random. It is intentional. And the intentions of the Creator, the intentions of the divine factor in to what we're doing. So for those of you, remember I said we bumped into a little something at that spot a few minutes ago, and then I told the story? Yeah, so there, one of the great, and we've looked at this before, but one of the great blockages to manifesting big desires, your big desires, right, involves the restructuring of sense of self. It involves redefining how you know yourself to be so that you are the person that does not self-sabotage or inhibit the manifestation of those big desires. And this kind of brings me into a point. I didn't have a lot of points to bring up to you for this webinar. I thought, well, we'll just do a lot of manifesting, something like that. But there was this point that I was thinking about, which is anytime we have a desire to manifest anything, usually something else is already in its place, right? Like say you would like to manifest more abundance in your life. Well, what it means is that at the moment you are manifesting some level of abundance, but maybe it's not quite the level of abundance that would make you most comfortable, right? So what that means is that the present current condition is carrying forth on a wave of supportive nature from the source of creation. That if you want to manifest abundance or more abundance, than you have, then it means that the current level of abundance is the one that's being supported now. It's the one that the universe is allowing to come to the foreground, basically. So what that means is, yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you for raising your hand, sweetheart. So what that means is that the present condition has to kind of be like replaced by the desired condition. And what that means is that all that momentum and energy from the source of creation that's feeding into a suboptimal manifestation needs to be kind of transformed in some way or another. We're transforming it into supporting a much more optimal manifestation. So there's a bit of a process there because there's a self-identification associated with the current suboptimal manifestation. In fact, from my perspective, that's what locks it into place. That's what locks the suboptimal manifestation into place, is self-identity associated with whatever is currently coming forward, and whether that's a health thing or health or wealth or relationships or even spiritual development, whatever it is, it's your main concern or even sub-concerns. So we could say, well, the key to think of the resources coming from the source of creation, kind of like water coming through a hose, right? And the water is coming through the hose and it's filling up this pond, but it's not the pond that you wanted it to. You want to fill up your pond over there, and instead it's filling it up over there. So, so you have to move the hose over to the pond that you want to fill up. And we could say, well, the key to being the master of the hose is the ability to redefine oneself in terms of greater potential, your greater or greatest potential. This is the key. We've talked about that before, haven't we? We've talked about it before from different angles and different ways and different contexts, but here we are again, talking about it again. I'm looking at that process and seeing like, where's the holdup? And the holdup that I see is that there are beliefs and memory patterns and impressions that are associated with that being an uncomfortable process. Partly, I would imagine, because if one is engaged in the process of redefining oneself on a higher level or in higher terms, we could say, something is lost, or at least the illusion that something is lost, the illusion of I lose myself. But it's a little bit like losing the rosebud in order for the rose to blossom, right? That what we lose no, it's more nuanced than that. Sorry, I'm still looking. I'm still looking. This is Dorothy on the heuristic path, eh? Right? This is not an algorithm. I'm just responding to you because I love you. The rules of the game. The rules of the game. The rules have been laid down over the course of centuries. That if I'm redefining myself, then who I am right now, before I've finished redefining myself, is somehow I am suboptimal. That whole, there's like a whole body of structure that's sitting in the deeper levels of the field of, and I'm looking at it, looks like it's kind of like deep down, like not right down there, but kind of in this whole area all the way up. And those of you who've seen my charts know that I've given names to all these different levels, right? Just so that we know how we're navigating our way through this process. But, you know, all the way up into what we would think of as the emotional self, even the mental self, where there are like self-constructed dialogues and the way we define ourselves, and they're little there's like self-speak, like little thought patterns. You know, how do I explain certain types of experiences that I have? Something like that. Oh, well, I should be more compassionate. Oh, well, I should. Anything that's got a should in it probably shouldn't be there. Anyway, I'm looking at the whole structure. And the thing about this structure is that any kind of structure that we carry in our being, that we have carried for centuries and our predecessors, has gotten established in the system for some reason, is somehow at least justified, that it supports evolution and survival. In a lot of cases, survival. If I don't, I won't make it. So it carries this sort of weight on it. And it is associated with this idea that, you know, I have to deal with myself in a certain way, or look at myself in a certain way, in order to maintain my relationship with my life and with this world and my family and all the aspects of my world that I need to survive, that are a requirement for my survival. And also there's kind of like a fear of the free fall, right? Because when you let go of some part, there's always that little gap, that little uncomfortable place where the previous is gone, the new hasn't quite come yet. And that's where the anchor in the heart comes in, because in that gap is the divine. In that gap is the God essence of your own nature, the essential essence of your own nature. And for many of you, your desire was born right from that gap. In fact, from one perspective, we could say all desires are born from that gap, because desires are born of the intention to move forward, right? To move from that lesser state to the greater state. This is evolution, not only of the individual self, but also universal self. This is how the divine evolves through us as us. It evolves through the transformation of the sense of self within each of us. Cool. It's cool. It looks like a garden. I'm seeing the shifting through the whole group. Because if you can get this one thing, then you've gotten the key to getting everything, to manifesting everything, to evolving at lightning speed. It has to interface with the human physiology. That's the kicker. That's the tricky part. In a lot of physiologies, a lot of our physiologies, there are memory patterns and impressions, cellular impressions down in cellular and subcellular levels. And that's where we also run into a lot of the ancestral energies and conditioning of becoming overwhelmed in that process, becoming overwhelmed by the process. And we could almost, I would say, I'm just going to turn my heater on. Okay. Define stress as physiological overwhelm. We could do that. My toes were overwhelmed with coldness. And so now the heater's on. The body has needs. Do you see? I'm going through this with you. We're doing it together. The kicker is how quickly and efficiently and precisely the nervous system can accommodate and adapt to that shift. On the level of consciousness, you can do it instantly, but on the level of physiology, that's a different story. And as long as you're waking up every day in this body, one has to consider that side of the story. It's essential. And I mean, it's the gift. It's the gift of the creator. The body is the gift. And, you know, this is why we're here, so that we have a point, an anchor point or a point of reference for experiencing ourselves as the entire wholeness of creation. Isn't that beautiful? The entire universe is being experienced through you right now. Even parts of the universe, maybe you can't define. Maybe something's going on a planet, in a solar system, in another galaxy, and you're like, I can't say what's going on over there because that's really far away. But the thing is, there's a part of your body that knows, because the body's made of the universal material that the whole rest of the universe is made out of. And the whole universe is talking to itself all the time. Kind of like, sort of like the internet, right? It's like the whole universe is connected. All the parts of the universe are connected to all the other parts, like all the time. And the body, the physical body, is the vehicle by which we define that experience. Oh, and here's another thing. Here's another little blockage and another little point that is very interesting on this note. And that is that I'm figuring out how to say it. The good the value of light and life and grace and love from the Creator that comes from the source of creation is boundless, infinite, eternal. Okay, so we establish the boundlessness of that good in creation. The darkness in creation is limited. It's less than that boundless source of creation. However, because the boundless source of creation is boundless, that leaves like a lot of room and a lot of autonomy for the darkness in creation to get really big. It can get pretty big because it only has to stay smaller than eternal absolute infinity, so that it can get pretty big. It can get pretty big. I'm returning to this beautiful sunculp, this beautiful seed that my lovely friend in Europe sent me of may the peaceful, I think she put it, may the peaceful people be powerful. Those were the words. In fact, she sent a song about it. Tom, make a note to put the link to the song in the email. Yes, it's very sweet. It's a the song was composed and compiled and put together by a group of very, very lovely ladies in what is essentially a cloister in Europe. It's really, you'll see some real sweet purity in that. A song of the same title. May the peaceful people be powerful. But I say that because this is an important, I think, misunderstanding that a lot of us have, that in order to manifest effectively and well, we need to be more enlightened somehow. We need to be like, our consciousness needs to be more powerful, right? But if you look at the world, look at the world just for a second. The powerful, wealthiest people in very high positions are not the highest consciousness people. Are they? No, they're not. Somehow the universe and the laws of nature, we need to look at this for a minute because this is interesting, right? The laws of nature seem to support plentifully individuals whose not only their consciousness isn't that particularly high, have malevolent intentions. That actually happens in our world, right? Events at the end of 2022, right? Huge multi-billion-dollar companies doing really, really, really bad things. How is that? If you or I had multi-billion dollars, we could do so much good in this world, right? So many, funding groups of peacekeepers and all kinds of beautiful, amazing, building temples to the divine in all the great sacred locations on earth. And so many things you could do, just so many things you could do that would help anchor and stabilize the collective consciousness of our world for the highest. But instead, the billions are given to these people who are, well, I won't say what they're doing, but you can look it up, but it's pretty bad. It's about the worst. So funnily enough, nature's working like that. To create a shadow big enough that we can see the whole light, the full light. And here's another point about that, just a little bit, as long as we're on that topic. Those individuals, they're reaping some kind of fabulous rewards on some level, but I'm quite sure, checking in with them, I'm quite sure that they are not fully cognizant of exactly the detailed mechanics of how they are manifesting that. And also you have, with people like that, you also have a certain amount of sociopathic or types of behaviors like narcissism and stuff, that they are defining themselves to a certain degree, but it's not the truth. They're not defining themselves in terms of their essential truth or in terms of their divine nature. They are defining themselves in a way that is not completely adhered to the truth. And what we know is that in the end, the truth wins, always. I mean, how many, lives are destroyed in the process? Oof. Well, but anyway, that's another topic. Are lives really destroyed? I don't know. I mean, the universe has a kind of a cyclic process, and there's a lot of recycling that goes on. So that would be a topic for another webinar probably. But anyway, I was hoping someone would send in a desire. And I see that this was another part of today's session. Anyway, I didn't mean to end on a dark note. Let's conclude that. So the principle is that the power for good and the power of the peaceful people of the world to redefine themselves in terms of absolute divine truth, the absolute essential nature of being itself, is so many times more powerful than the means by which those individuals, and they're not so many of them, right? It's a limited number, but those individuals who've somehow risen themselves to positions of great power and so forth, their foundation is very weak in comparison to that, exceedingly weak. It already has cracks in it. Do you see what I'm saying? The work that we're doing, our desires combined, the work that we're doing is shining the light of a new level of manifestation for the world, where the laws of nature shift, like the hose, right? They shift from feeding into a pond whose foundation is full of cracks to feeding into the ocean of being itself. The ocean. The ocean is folding in on its own nature, right? Because where's that water come from anyway? It comes from the ocean, of course. The infinite resource is where it comes. And of course, it wants to feed into forms manifested on the surface of creation that are founded, whose foundation is absolute truth, not lies, not self-deception. You are doing it. We are shifting right now, shifting the hose to feed into a bright future for mankind, to feed into a dignified and healthy quality of life for all people, and for our beautiful earth, and for our beautiful animals and plants and solar system. This is a very critical time where technology has developed on our earth at this time. It's very critical for the entire future course of not just us as human beings, but our whole solar system, like the whole universe. What we do is important. What you do is important. The choices you make, the decisions. There are energy signatures associated with those seeds of manifestation. And the energy signature that supports the perpetuation of the seed of your potential and your heart's desire has a feel to it, and it's a good feel. It feels good. It feels blissful. And any decision or choice or dedication or even focus of attention that aligns with that will have like a flag on it that will tell you, oh yes, follow that thread. Do that. That's a good idea. And any choice or decision or intention or anything that doesn't support the perpetuation of the desire will give you a no. Ooh, not tasty, not tasty. Let's see what kind of questions are coming in, because we're just pretty much at question time. I see lots of questions are coming in. I was gonna ask people if they had any specific desires, because we can go into them a little bit and help support. I can help support by reflecting from my own silence, whatever is needed or required. So here's this beautiful woman who's an incredible artist, musician, artist. Oh, just fabulous gardens. And she says her heart's desire is building a crystal healing structure in a garden of sound healing. So much resource required to understand the fundamental mechanics of how sound vibrations interface with us both as individuals, but also within the context of the universe, because instruments, musical instruments, they have to have two facets. They have to have something that vibrates or hums, right? Something that moves. They have to have a moving aspect, and then they also have to have a resonating aspect. And the resonating aspect represents the silent ocean of being, right? Actually, more nuanced than that. The resonating aspect represents the fundamental spaces present at the finest abstract level of consciousness that sits at the gap between the unmanifest and the manifest level of creation. I used to teach music, so like I'm in my comfy zone right now talking about this. Just saying. So there has to be a resonator. Some instruments use the space around them as a resonator. Those are called, oh, well, it's been a few years since I taught this stuff. I think these are called idiophones, drums, basically. Like not drums so much, but things like a triangle, right? Or a cymbal, or even wood blocks, right? Because the part that resonates is the body of that instrument, but but it resonates within the context of the room that you're in, and the shape and space in that room will determine how that sound actually comes to us, comes to our ears. A lot of other instruments carry their resonating space with them. All the wind instruments, and even a drum, because a drum has like a hollow body. The resonating space is the part of the instrument that gives power to the resonation. And you can think of the resonation of the instrument like, you can think of it like the seed, right? The exercise that we did at the beginning of this session where you held the seed. And so you held the energy signature that resonated with that desire that you would like to manifest. But then what we did in the exercise was kind of go step by step through how do you connect that resonation with that resonator? How do we construct a resonating space around the desire so that that desire is guaranteed manifestation? It's very important. Both are important. Both are important. There's so much more I can say about timbre and other things, but I think when you're making the crystal structure, you have to think to yourself, is the crystal going to be the part that vibrates? Or is it going to be the part that resonates, or both? And how am I going to work these two, the laws of nature of these two parts of a musical instrument together in order to produce an instrument that consistently interfaces with the human physiology in a way that is absolutely life-supporting. And essentially what you're doing is you're using the instrument that you create out of crystal the way I was using my own physiology. It represents the structure on the level of consciousness that's required for the particular healing that that person needs, essentially. Okay, that was a really interesting question. Thank you for asking. Yum. Okay, here's another, thank you, insight coming in. The people, these people, and I think when you say these people, you probably mean the people that are currently in power or currently billionaires. And so like, I'm not saying all billionaires are terrible people, because they're not. And surely there are people on this earth in positions of power and wealth who are high consciousness people who have been placed in that position by divine grace to help us navigate out of the mess that we're in. But these people, being the ones that are supporting creating the mess, I presume, may be fulfilling latent desires from previous lifetimes, surely. Yes. And they will have to see that the only true desire is to know thyself. Yes, yes, and to know thyself in thy most essential nature. And for some, I agree with you that for those souls, the path that they're on is the path that will lead them to that level of realization. But the question is, yes, I agree. And I mean, my concern, and probably your concern too, everybody's concern, is how much suffering will result during that process, right? How many lives will be destroyed? That's the question. And how it is that one person's evolutionary journey requires them to perform actions that are destructive, overwhelming, and create stress in others. Like, what is that mechanic? And I mean, one can only think, well, every soul in creation is so precious that even a soul who's really messed up also deserves to go through their evolutionary process. And if others are trampled in the process, somehow that trampling helps those souls evolve. And, we've talked in the past about things like childhood abuse and stuff like, I think I did a whole webinar on childhood trauma and stuff. So, we have kind of explored that region to a fair degree. So there's something to be said for that. That the divine never leaves any part of its own construct to just float away, right? As soon as some part of the universe gets out of alignment with natural law, the laws of nature start working to bring it back in. It's just that the wholeness of creation is so big that the pieces that get out of alignment can get quite far out of alignment before they get turned around to being brought back in again. And that's sort of the problem right there, is like, well, we could say, well, we would live in a better world. I'm still exploring this peaceful people coming into the position of power, right? Because that's what happens, right? If peaceful people come into a position of power, the principle is that we're creating a reality where optimal evolution can be gained without a great deal of suffering. Ideally. And it could mean restructuring the mechanics by which people evolve. Because I know, even from personal experience, that sometimes tremendously fast evolution can happen during times of suffering. Anyway. The shift, a little bit more of a shift taking place there. To favor individual, this is important, favor individual evolution in a context which is filled with grace, That means comfort and dignity and bliss, the opposite of suffering. Comfort and dignity and bliss. And that those conditions, like becoming a parent, right? It's such a joy. It's such a joy. World's best kept secret, being a mom or dad. Such a joy and so evolutionary. The bonding of humanity. Also, the lady who said that has a question down here, which I should focus. So I'm going to look at your second question first. She said that she realized that she was afraid to shine and afraid of letting her voice out, and afraid that if she speaks, people will listen, and it's terrifying. The Reader's Digest version. One of the reasons it's terrifying is there are patterns and impressions from the past and from past lives of being somewhat renowned, right? And being out in the public eye. And because of that, being defined and victimized. And that's a pattern that was going in our world in the last century, right? Like the Bolshevik Revolution is a beautiful example, and also the events of the Second World War is another really dramatic expression of that. People who are in positions, and many others, the Cultural Revolution in China and others, Cambodia, in all of these cases, it was individuals who had risen to a particular level of achievement who were targeted first. So they shined, and then they were martyred. That expression hits at the heart of the individual evolutionary process, right? Because in order to rise to a place where one shines, this is rising through the ranks of the evolutionary experience and then being shot down. A lot of adjustments are being made. A lot of adjustments need to be made in order to embrace that evolutionary process and the ability to shine. And when you say shine, I hear shine your truth, not just your truth, but the truth, the big truth, truth with a capital T, to be an instrument or vehicle for the highest truth. Thank you, sweetheart, for your validation. And I'm thinking that the adjustment is that you cannot shine. You can choose not to shine, but the consequences of that are far worse than courageously moving into your brilliance, and come what may. Just come what may. Whatever life brings, that shining in your essential truth gives you a foundation for functioning heuristically in this world. Remember, I talked about algorithms versus a heuristic, right? So the heuristic is fly by the seat of your pants, right? Like you have to do it, but you have to do it on the fly, sort of. But there's something wonderful and exhilarating about that as well. So the shift for you is that in the physiology, there was a tendency for the autonomic nervous system to get overwhelmed when you were facing a heuristic challenge. And so when I said there were a lot of changes, I was saying, oh, there are a lot of changes, These are changes in the nervous system itself, so that the nervous system can respond and react to that type of challenge with joy, and with a kind of I would say faith helps, but if one is shining in one's essential truth, pure truth, then also there's a confidence that goes with that this is the intention of the creator. This is cosmic intention coming through me, that I am bringing that level of intention in my actions and behaviors and words, etc. And so whatever comes out of it is ultimately going to be somehow okay. Even if I die, even if, like worst case scenario, even then somehow it's going to be okay. And it's certainly going to be better than not speaking at all. It's going to be better than denying my truth. And it's going to be better than building up a lot of internal fortifications that stop me from allowing that divine essence to flow through. Thank you for your amazing question. Okay, here's another. That achievement of billions will not bring happiness and peace. Yes, that's true. And what we're seeing right now is a lot of those people who are at that level of wealth and power in our world, it becomes like a smaller and smaller group as time goes on, right? Because it kind of, there's a sort of like siphoning out, or it isolates out. So there's more and more masses that have very little. And then there's just very, very few, like all the wealth kind of is conglomerating or kind of coagulating in this sort of top, small, ever smaller numbers of individuals at the top. Yeah, they have so much money. They do not have to care about money. Their goal is not to have more money. And for a while I thought, oh, their goal is just to have power. But now they have so much power. Their goal is not to have power. They don't care. They don't care about money. They don't care about power. They care about their vision, their idealized vision. I don't have to go into too much detail about that, because a small search on the internet will reveal that to you. Unfortunately, the vision isn't just what we've been talking about. It isn't really aligned with wholeness. It isn't, that individual vision isn't, I am manifesting as a vehicle of the pure potential of the world and the pure essence of divine grace and divine being. I'm manifesting this vision. No, their vision is more like, how can I play with the system that's already present to bend it around to my will and make it fit like a game or a toy, like the world is their toy or something. It's not, and even though I think within themselves there's a tendency to justify that their vision is a good vision and it's going to lead somehow to some level of fulfillment worldwide, the problem is, without it being grounded in wholeness, it has so many areas where it could go awry. There are so many problems that could come up, and they're missing it, So I'm desiring to have a clear communication between the lower self and the higher self. Where am I getting stuck? Good question. And how are we doing for time? Yeah, so this might be the last question. I don't know, but don't worry. Those of you who, I see more and more questions coming in, so don't worry. Tomorrow we'll start with questions, because I love hearing your desires. How magnificent. The stuck is in the body. Because consciousness can fathom into the source of creation. It can fathom out to the details of the relative. It can go anywhere at any time, at any speed, is completely unconstrained by space and time. Consciousness, experiencing that one eternal source of all that is, that's easy. What's hard is integrating it. What's hard is marrying it with everything that we know ourselves to be The individual self, I'm looking deeper. The heuristic comes in because that first part is kind of algorithmic a little bit. You guys are smart. You know me. You see me. I don't mind. It's good. Um, in the prefrontal cortex. So in the nervous system. Oh, and your sweetheart. And in the neural network around the heart. A lot of the patterns of how we show up as grown-ups are established as children. And what I'm seeing is that there are experiences from childhood, and I would say the innocent years of childhood, you know, the early years of childhood before puberty and so, where the message of being insufficient was established. And you, in your current beautiful state of being, your consciousness can go back to those early, like I'm seeing 5, around age 5. And there may have been an event, I don't know, could be some event that occurred around that time that cemented in this idea that somehow you are flawed, insufficient, ill-equipped to do what you need to do. And to even to necessarily, I would say, do the things you want to do. Because little 5-year-olds, they would like to do everything. But there are a lot of things that are grown-up-y things like driving cars and stuff you can't do when you're 5. You are so cute. The present self seems to be communicating to the little self the story of all possibilities and the story of the as yet unrealized potential. And sowing the seeds of the marriage of individuality and universality, and talking to little self during dream and sleep state, especially that lovely, luscious falling asleep time, like right when you're falling asleep, and that you could look out and see the whole universe. Your universe. You are the universe. Whispering, it's like whispering. It's so big. It's so immense. I feel so small. This is little self talking. It's so big. I feel so small. Your consciousness is big and your body is small. And together, they form the foundation of all of you, all that you are. It's a very big love. What I see happening is something like a love affair, a little bit, just like a love, like a really deep, rich, sweet, yummy relationship between you right now and your little self. And like, oh, I embrace you and I never lose you. You now is like holding and embracing that little you in the past. And it's just like, you're part of me, I'm part of you. You will never lose me. I will always be here for you. And you now is so developed and so well grounded in the understanding, the basic fundamental principles and the experience of consciousness as wholeness. You got it. You got it now. Now that you've got it, your little self has it too. And little self is like, I am so happy to be guided by you. I am so happy to follow this beautiful lead that you have given me. And as you do that, you and your little self transcend space and time. And the lead extends to the ever future self. The potential, the vastness, the grace, the accomplishment, the success of unifying individuality with totality is already accomplished by your future self. And the lead comes through, all the way through, from that level, all the way through you to the present, all the way through you to the past. And feeds like the hose, right? The hose with the infinite flow. The infinite flow comes right through that lead. And the love and warmth and intimacy and protection and completeness of that experience also comes through. The same way that you would just hold your little tiny young self with absolute unconditional love is the same way that that part of your own being holds you and your little self completely. And the whole cycle of created experience and the whole cycle of the universe, the whole cycle of the universe, the whole cycle. It's like the mother of the universe, because the mother of the universe loves those threefold patterns, right? The future self, the present self, the past self. Mother of creation is like, oh yeah, that's like one of my forms. I'll end. We're 5 minutes over, so I have to end, unfortunately, because I'm having a lot of fun. But with a very quick story, I have 2 sons, they're older, and then I have a daughter who's younger. And it was when my daughter was born, and I was sitting in the comfy chair nursing my baby. And it was important that she was a little girl. Like I didn't have this experience with my boys in the same way. But she looked up at me, and you know how babies are. They don't talk, but they tell a lot. And she looked up at me, and her love was infinite. It was so unbounded, and it was so overwhelming my heart that I could not contain it. My heart could not contain the love that she was pouring into me. So I just transcended, and I just let the love flow to the mother of creation. I just let it flow back to the source of creation, to the wholeness of creation. And then there were 3. There was the mother of creation. There was Dorothy as a mother of a little baby girl. And there was the baby girl being a little teeny tiny, perfectly formed little expression of the mother of the universe. And we were one. And it was so beautiful, right? She looked in my eyes, and it was the eyes of infinity looking into my eyes. And the love that was able to pour through me into her and through my milk and everything was infinite, infinite love, infinite unbounded love. It's a very sweet experience. So it's something like that. It's something like that. May it be for you, and may it be for you always. Thank you for that question. Beautiful question. And thank you, everybody, for being with me. And thank you for your questions and comments. I will I will ask my husband, my dear husband, to print out the questions, and then we will start with questions tomorrow, because there are a lot of exciting places we can go manifesting more good stuff. And I'm looking forward to those of you who can join me tomorrow. It's at 11, Tom? 11 Central. 1, sorry, we're not in Arizona anymore. 1 o'clock Central Time, and whichever time zones you guys are in. All a little bit different, but yeah, and we'll probably have more Europeans with us tomorrow, which should be lots of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you again for being with me, and sorry I kept you a few minutes late, but it's been so lovely and such a joy, such a privilege to be here with you. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye. Bye-bye.